Rootless consciousness, unwholesome resultant consciousness. Number 1, eye consciousness accompanied by equanimity, as are number 2, ear consciousness, number 3, nose consciousness, number 4, tongue consciousness, number 5, body consciousness accompanied by pain, number 6, receiving consciousness accompanied by equanimity, 7, investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. These 7 are the unwholesome consultant types of consciousness. Guide to rootless consciousness. Rootless consciousness, ahetuka chittani. The word ahetuka means without roots and qualifies those types of consciousness that are devoid of mental factors called hetu, roots. These types, 18 in number, do not contain any of the 3 unwholesome roots, greed, hatred and delusion, nor do they contain the 3 bright roots, non-greed, non-hatred and non-delusion, which may be either wholesome or indeterminate. Since a root is a factor which helps to establish stability in a chitta, those chittas which lack roots are weaker than those which possess them. The 18 chittas in this class fall into 3 groups: unwholesome resultants, wholesome resultants, and functional consciousness. See table 1.3. Unwholesome resultant consciousness, akusala vipaka chittanti. The first category of rootless consciousness comprises the 7 types of consciousness that result from unwholesome karma. These types of consciousness are not themselves unwholesome, but karmatically indeterminate. Abhidhammatha. The word unwholesome, akusala, here means that they are resultants produced by unwholesome karma. The word qualifies not these states of consciousness themselves, but the karma from which they are born. Eye consciousness, chakku vijnana. The first 5 types of resultant consciousness in both classes, the unwholesome resultants and the wholesome resultants, are those that are based on the sensitive matter pasada of the eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. These 10 chittas are collectively designated the 2 sets of 5-fold sense consciousness. Dvi pancha vijnana. Eye consciousness arises based upon eye sensitivity. Chakku pasada. Its function is simply to see, to cognize directly and immediately the visible object. The other types of sense consciousness also arise based upon their respective sensitivity, and their function is simply to cognize their respective objects, to hear sounds, to smell smells, to taste tastes, and to feel tangibles. In the case of unwholesome resultants, the object is unpleasant or undesirable, anitta. However, the impact of the object on the first 4 sense faculties is weak, and thus associated feelings is natural. In other words, equanimity. Associated feeling is neutral. In other words, equanimity. But in the case of unwholesome resultant body consciousness, the object's impact on the body faculty is strong, and thus the accompanying feeling is bodily pain, dukkha. Receiving consciousness, sampatichana chitta, sampatichana chitta. When a sense object impinges on a sense faculty at one of the 5 sense doors, example, visible form on the eye, first there arises a chitta adverting the object. Immediately after this, eye consciousness arises, seeing that form. This act of seeing lasts only for a single mind moment. Immediately thereafter arises a chitta which apprehends or receives the object that had been seen by eye consciousness. This is the receiving consciousness, which results from the same type of karma and produce the eye consciousness. Investigating consciousness, santirana chitta. This is another rootless resultant consciousness, which arises immediately after receiving consciousness. Its function is to investigate or examine the object that had just been cognized by the sense consciousness and apprehended by the receiving consciousness. The receiving consciousness and the investigating consciousness arise only in the 5 sense doors, and both are results of past karma.